Good evening, Midnight Charlie Man. Let's see how far I get with this. So it's the 9th of the 5th, it's 9th of the 5th, 2023, and it's 11:59 p.m. Thank you for tuning in. Welcome to my channel. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you. Now the reason I'm the reason I'm I was just contemplating whether I'm going to do this or not. The reason I'm doing this now is because I actually filmed this in my head in 2 parts early hours this morning, at about 2 and 3 a.m. this morning, and I filmed this entire video in my head. And it what happened was the other day that I was speaking about. In one of my previous videos, from about 2 videos ago, I was speaking about music, and actually I can't really remember what I said. It was in regard of Nirvana, and I can't really remember what I said because I don't often go back to the videos that I've done. And I was thinking about the Seattle grunge scene. Which came about in about 1992-93. In fact, the reason I was contemplating whether or not to do this is because I haven't been that well today. I'm getting better. Let me look up Nirvana. I want to say when Nirvana came out. I filmed 2 parts in my head, 3 a.m. this morning, and I'm thinking now, you know what? I'll just do it. "1991. Yes, I was about to say 1993. 1991. So here we go. All right, here we go. Exciting. This is exciting. Here we go. Now, was there a Seattle grunge scene invasion? Was there a Seattle grunge invasion in 1991? In 1991? No, there was not. There wasn't. I think that, if you want to call it a myth or ideology, that got created over time. Like when things get created, like in retrospect, only in retrospect. And because I was thinking about it, and some time back now, like a few years back now, I would occasionally say, yes, heavy metal got sent underground in 1991, and I was having a very careful think about it, very careful think about it. And okay, so this is my memory. I had a very careful think about this. There was no invasion. I think it's up to the individual perspective, and I think, like, if you were to look up an article on it, or if you were to go to Wikipedia, I suppose maybe it will say yes. One of the trend waves in popular culture back in 1991 was that the Seattle grunge scene came about. It did come about, but there wasn't an invasion of sorts. Okay, so the very first time I ever saw Smells Like Teen Spirit on MTV, did I react like, what the hell is this? What's this? This is not heavy metal. This is not hard rock. I did not react like that at all. I didn't have any reaction like that. In fact, the very first time, the very first time, yeah, the first time that I saw Smells Like Teen Spirit on MTV, the very first time I ever saw it, my reaction was, oh, what's this? This is interesting. It was very poppyish. It was new. It was a little bit electrifying because I'd never seen it before. Did I feel like I was being invaded by new music? No. Did I feel like I was being invaded by the Seattle scene? No, because that term did not exist. I saw the clip and I thought, oh, what's this? And it was different. And there wasn't even a comparison between speaking from my perspective only, but I have spoken to other metalheads about this, and they've got mixed opinions. Was there a contrast between Nirvana, Poison, Warrant, Whitesnake, Motley Crue, Guns N' Roses at the time? Not much. Not much. Because it wasn't a big thing at the time, it wasn't a big deal. It only becomes a big deal later in retrospect when the contrast sets in. But at the time, when you're there, at the time when Nirvana hit the airwaves in 1991, probably 92, which Use Your Illusion came out. And for some reason I kept thinking that Nevermind came out in 1993, but I just looked it up on Google, it says 91. There was no, what the hell is this? What's going on here? Nothing like that. Nirvana was, I knew nothing about Nirvana at all before they hit the airwaves. And to me, it was another new band, and I wanted to like them. And I did actually buy Nevermind, and I partially got into the album, I partially got into it. I partially got into Nevermind. I remember I was, without going to Google to look up the track listing, Smells Like Teen Spirit, Lithium, although that might not be on Nevermind, Come As You Are. I don't think About a Girl is on Nevermind. I don't remember the rest of the songs. I bought the CD. I was gonna use the term bandwagon. It was a wave. The term Seattle, I did not know what the term Seattle meant, nor did I hear the term Seattle at the time, nor did I hear the term grunge at the time. At the time, Nirvana was simply a new band that came along, and they didn't stop playing Whitesnake on MTV or Warrant or GNR. They didn't stop playing that. In fact, they mixed it all, and as I said, over time and in retrospect, that contrast gets put on these things, and I think memories can become distorted. And I was having a very careful think about this early hours this morning, and I thought, no, there wasn't any reactions like that. I didn't react like that. And in fact, when I was out at gigs, at the time, there'd be metalheads at the gigs, and they'd be a bit sort of frustrated in a sense. I meant to make sure I'm recording. I always just make sure I'm recording. I went to a couple. I remember back in the day at a gig, they'd say, oh yeah, all of a sudden everyone's into Nevermind. I've been listening to Nirvana for years. And they'd say, yeah, into Insecticide and Bleach. That's off the top of my head. I could just verify, look it up on Google. Should I? Let me just, one moment. As I said, there was no invasion. When I was sitting in the lounge chair at home at my parents' place in 91 watching MTV, and Richard Wilkins introduced never mind, I wasn't like, what the hell is this Seattle Invasion? Nothing like that. It was just Nirvana was just a new band, like anybody else. Nirvana, incesticide, Nirvana. My glasses. I've been not that well today, but I didn't want to put this video off for another 48 hours, 24 hours until tomorrow. Nirvana, never mind. Nirvana albums. I think I bought In Utero as well. Bleach, In Utero, In Utero. I loved Heart Shaped Box. Always loved Heart Shaped Box. And this was bothering me a little bit, because I thought, what actually happened? What was the mindset at the time? What was the reaction? Well, to me, there was better, and everyone that I knew didn't have much of a reaction to it. No one that I knew was saying, all this Seattle music and all this grunge music, those terms came in later on. Maybe 95 onwards, those terms were used, but they were used, but not at the time when Nevermind came out. And I remember Alice in Chains hitting the airwaves, and I remember, because I wasn't even 20 yet. Alice in Chains came out. I wanted to like them. I didn't connect to them. I didn't connect to Alice in Chains. I said this in a previous video. Soundgarden, actually, Alice in Chains and Soundgarden, two of my least favourite bands of all time. They are. They just are. I don't like them. They hit the airwaves, and they were different. And a band called Mudvayne, I think they're from Seattle, and I never liked Mudvayne. I do remember watching Rage though. Sometime when I would watch Rage, and a whole string of the Seattle bands would come on. But at the time, I didn't say to myself, "Oh, here we go. Here's a run of Seattle bands." I didn't say that. I just said, "Oh, okay, here we go." So I always really liked it when Iggy Pop or AC/DC or Iron Maiden, Guns N' Roses, David Lee Roth, Motley Crue would be on Rage. I tried to like Alice in Chains. There was no rebellion against any of it. It was part of popular culture. Soundgarden could never get into them, didn't connect to them. And I think maybe In Utero, I don't know if I bought that, but that's the whole thing, is that it wasn't an invasion. Did heavy metal go underground? Sort of. Depends on who you... If you ask an individual person, like if you read about this on Wikipedia, there'd be articles on it saying, yes, heavy metal went underground for a while. But it depends what you mean by underground, because after 91, like when Guns N' Roses finished the Use Your Illusion tour, they did the Skin and Bones tour. I think that was a bit of a disaster. I don't remember much about it. And so Guns N' Roses had their hiatus. Motley Crue weren't doing 94 Cry. It depends what bands were doing and the time in between albums. Looking back now, did heavy metal go underground? Not really. The wave of Seattle music did come in, yes, and it did dominate the airwaves, but not to the extent that it was a war. It's just, and we even dressed a little grunge back then because we embraced it. Because we didn't walk around saying, "Oh, we're embracing grunge, we're embracing Seattle," and didn't use those terms. Didn't use them. The late 90s started using those terms, and the Zeros started using those terms, but not at the time. At the time, Nirvana was just another new band that hit the airwaves and got popular. And there was no invasion. I didn't see it as an invasion, and also because I was quite eclectic with my music, very eclectic with what I was listening to. And so I was very open to new bands and to hearing new things, and so anything that would come on MTV might get my interest. It might get my interest. When Nirvana came out to Sydney, I didn't go to see them. Wasn't that overly interested in them, but Smells Like Teen Spirit, fun song. That all that stuff, Um, Seattle. They came about later. It all came about later. Probably a decade later. Probably going into the zeros. That's when people started saying, "Oh, that's Seattle way of buried heavy metal." Yeah, but at the time, no. And Rage. And I'm sure that there's MTV in America is, I think, slightly different to what it was here in Australia, because you didn't have you Americans. You didn't have Richard Wilkins as your host. We had Richard Wilkins as our host, but you had other music programs. And I am sure that in America, heavy metal was still in full steam. Like, even as the Seattle wave was hitting, the channels were still probably playing Warrant and Whitesnake and GNR and Motley Crue and Slayer and Metallica and Ozzy and Black Sabbath and Deep Purple and that. So I wanted to clear that up, because there was no invasion. There was no invasion. It was just a new band that came out. But years down the track, they were able to put the contrast on, and you were able to, in retrospect, say that. But not at the time. Yeah. And for a while, like I think it was a few years ago now, for a while I kind of was saying that I would say, oh yeah, heavy metal got buried in the 90s, but it's up to the individual perspective. That's up to the individual perspective. And looking back now, no, it didn't. Not at all. It didn't. I suppose one component of it could be that could be considered that Guns N' Roses went on their hiatus. At the time, no one realised that, because Slash's Snake Pit came out when 94, because Slash wrote those songs for GNR. Axl said he wasn't interested, and then Axl turned around and said he was interested, and then Slash put Snake Pit together and used those songs, because Axl thought those songs were too southern edge to them. Yeah. It's just that certain bands weren't putting out albums as regularly. Like Poison had Native Tongue, and then with my glasses on so I can just check when Slash's Snake Pit came out. And yes, this has come out differently to the way that I had recorded in my head in the early hours, but I thought that Slash's Snake Pit. Here's Slash's Snake Pit. It says Supergroup. Slash's Snake Pit. Okay. Slash's Snake Pit was not a supergroup. See what happens years and years down the track. People mythologize things. Slash's Snake Pit's not a supergroup. It's a group. Oh, good, but they weren't a supergroup. When did it come out, Pat? 95. Okay, so it came out in 95 because Slash presented those songs to Axl. Axl didn't want them, and then Slash put Slash's Snake Pit together. Okay. Yeah. Supergroup. Nirvana were fun when they came out. Yes, they were fun. But it wasn't like, who's this band invading heavy metal? What's all this? No, that was not the reaction at the time. Reaction at the time was, oh, Nirvana, new band. Oh, what are they like? Fun, okay. We had fun with them. Had fun. Some 20 years later, people say the invasion of Nirvana in Seattle. I'm not very much into Seattle music. I'm not into grunge at all, really. I didn't click with it that well. I didn't really click with it overall. That's what I was going to mention. We're on 20 minutes. Tumbleweed. Tumbleweed are an Australian band, and I attempted at one point in the 90s to get into Tumbleweed. No go. Powderfinger. I was listening to Powderfinger at one point. I was listening to it at one point. Yeah. I really liked Heart Shaped Box. I really liked that song. I think some of that decline has to do with the fact that Guns N' Roses didn't do anything after 91, after they finished the Illusion tour. And that's what people refer to now, but we didn't know it at the time, obviously. And Poison started to do not much after 93. And so it wasn't a decline, it was just waves. Music was still very much alive. Music was big and alive in the 90s, and paid attention to it as it came out. And I don't even remember the first time I heard the Seattle term used. Maybe 97, maybe 98. Can't. Let me type it in. Let's try to find out. I'll type it in Google. When was the grunge term first used? Well, let's find out. Try to find out. When was the term grunge first used? Alright, here we go. I've proven wrong, alright. Apparently it's 1987. The word was first recorded as being applied to Seattle musicians in July 1987. Okay, fair enough. That's a little bit weird, because I didn't... A decade later, I heard that term. However, someone I knew at the time, used that term. Okay. I didn't know it was around. I didn't know that term was established in 1987. That's something I didn't know. I didn't know that. The word grunge only dates from the 1960s. Huh. Okay, well, the first time I heard, things are vague, of course. But I would say the first time I heard the term Seattle was around. For me, it was around 96, 97. Yeah. Yeah. And yes, there was a change in the style of clothes and that, and really slowly, and grunge music. The lyrics were a bit more. The Seattle sound was a bit more melancholy, and the lyrics were a bit. They were what they were. Well, when I can't find a description for something, they were what they were. I'm gonna stop recording now. I'm gonna stop recording now. I probably won't upload this tonight. I won't upload this. I've been off YouTube today. But I just recorded this anyway. I'm not going to watch this back until tomorrow or something. What I usually do is straight away I put through a shortcut, I want it back and upload it, but I'm not going to do that tonight. I don't have the energy. I just wanted to get it down. Thank you for watching, and I wanted to go over those points. I wanted to talk about that. Comments in the section down below, please, and thank you for watching. Midnight Charlie Man Patrick here. I have felt compelled to do this. The power of Christ compels you. The power of Christ compels you. I felt compelled to do this because after I did the video last night, there were some things that occurred to me afterwards, and I think I gave the impression that, well, from my perspective, I gave the impression that MTV in the mid 80s and toward the late 80s and the early 90s with Richard Wilkins, all it played was heavy metal. Quite the contrary. Because Australia and America had very different programs, and in America you had Headbangers Ball. We didn't have that, and so what would happen Friday and Saturday night on MTV, with Richard Wilkins hosting, and they would play everything. They play the pop, they play the R&B, play dance music, and toward the, like, maybe the middle or toward the end of the night, memory is vague now, they would play Guns N' Roses, Motley Crue, Slayer, Metallica. They'd play all of that. They never played Black Sabbath on MTV in Australia, to my recollection. Rage did that, but I was mostly interested in everything that they played. I think I wanted to like most of it. I was just taking it in, and I did. So the Madonna and Pet Shop Boys and the Proclaimers and Robert Palmer, all that. And we didn't call them the retro hits back then. They weren't called the retro hits. They came about in after 2010, I think. Let me get I've got my hot lemon and Tetley. That's nice. Okay, so MTV covered everything, all the music genres, and okay, so on the Friday and the Saturday night on MTV, Richard Wilkins would, you'd get your metal in there, you would, 4 songs or so. It was all mixture. It was all based on the top 40. Now, here's the thing is, Headbangers Ball, as I said, Australia didn't have a Headbangers Ball, but when cable TV was introduced to Australia, let me look it up, when it was introduced, because we actually got cable, and then once cable television was introduced to Australia, we were able to get Headbangers Ball, which was fun. I'm going to look it up when it was introduced. When was cable introduced to Australia? I don't remember. I think it was late 90s. Wait a minute, I got a rough idea. Oh, wait, rough idea. My memory just triggered. It was, I think it was in 1996. And then, I think it was 1996 because we had it for a while. It wasn't anything like the American cable TV system, which has like 50 channels, but we had our standard Channel 10, Channel 9, Channel 7, SBS, Channel 2, that was it. And then when we had cable, there was like about I think there's maybe 12 channels. Maybe there was 15 of them, maybe 12, but and one of them was Headbangers Ball, and that was cool. But the thing was, MTV played all the main stuff, but Rage played everything. Emphasis on that. So America had, and Europe even had, Headbangers Ball, but Rage in Australia compensated for that because they played everything, like everything that was on the charts, everything that wasn't on the charts, because it went from Rage might start at 11 p.m. and went through till 5 a.m. and that's when the top 40 hits started. So it was a more comprehensive avenue. It was a lot more comprehensive, Rage, and MTV concentrated on the top 40, what was coming out, and Rage Case gave you everything. And Led Zeppelin, Sabbath, Motorhead. I remember a lot of AC/DC live in the late 80s on Rage, a lot of Motorhead, a lot of Blondie, a lot of Iggy Pop, a lot of Radio Birdman, and some of this I wasn't really comprehending. I wasn't really comprehending some of it. It was like, oh, this is kind of fascinating. Some of these bands are fascinating to me, and I'm trying to comprehend it. And some of it's really interesting. But they played every. Oh, and also the thing with Rage is they played the entire clip. Whereas on MTV they used to cut the last 5 seconds of the clip out with an advertisement. And so with Rage they played the entire clip, which was fantastic. It was really crappy when Sweet Child was cut out with the last few moments of it. Always would look forward to Rage. Rage! Always look forward to Rage because I played everything. And if you got a metal night, that was great. And they played everything. So I just checking on the time then. I thought of those things after I recorded the last video. So yes, MTV in Australia, in Sydney, did not focus entirely on metal, it focused on everything. Oh, and there was one night, Richard Wilkins had this giant South of Heaven poster behind him. And I was like, oh, is he going to play Slayer? Is he going to... And it wasn't until, like, okay, down the track, years later, because remember that sort of thing sometimes, and think the poster spoke for itself, because he didn't mention Slayer. He did not mention Slayer once that night, and it took me a while to realise he didn't have to say anything. The poster spoke for itself. Yeah. And everything that I saw on MTV, I wanted to like. Every band that I would hear, I'd be positive about it, but not every band I clicked with, and especially the Seattle grunge. I didn't. That's what I'm going to talk about. Pearl Jam. Tried to like Pearl Jam. I didn't like Versus. I didn't like 10. I didn't like Vitality. And I tried to, but it just didn't click with me at all. It gave me a headache. But I did like Yield, and I did like No Code, and I did that binaural album. I haven't heard Pearl Jam for years. I can't really even hear Pearl Jam ever again. Never got into Versus. Never. I couldn't get into that album. And same with what was it? Spin, spin, spin the black circle. Oh, spin, spin. It took me years to work out what that meant. I didn't realise that it just meant putting a needle on the record and playing the record. I didn't realise that. I was like, what? Spin the black circle? What's that? But I played Pearl Jam at home, and it was like, it's okay, it's alright. I was really preferring Guns N' Roses and Metallica and Slayer. I was really preferring that, and Madonna and Michael Jackson. Really into Madonna. But of course it's like almost taboo to go to a metal gig and start talking about Madonna. I got pulled up for that once. Yeah. Madonna was all over the airwaves of MTV in 1988. I've actually got I've got the VHS. I've got VHS tape somewhere because I used to record MTV sometimes. I used to record it, so I've got my old VHS tape somewhere. By the way, I met Richard Wilkins. I met him in 2008. He's tall, he towers over me, really nice guy. Talked to him for about 2 minutes. Very nice guy. He wasn't putting it on either. He was cool. Very approachable. Yeah. Okay, so I just covered a few things in this video. I'm going to put these 2 videos together. I'm not going to do it today, but there was these other things that came to mind. I thought I will talk. Oh bugger! Did I put this light on the whole time? What? Oh, that light wasn't on the whole time. But it's okay because I've got this light coming in here. So yeah. MTV. I don't even think it exists anywhere now. There are. I think that there's probably a top 40 video hit somewhere on TV. Probably, I don't know. Wouldn't know. I stopped keeping track of the actual charts. I stopped keeping track somewhere around 2000 or 2001. So after 2001, I lost track of all the new stuff that was coming out, except for bands that had been existing for years who were bringing out new stuff. But like now, I wouldn't have a clues on the top 40. I wouldn't even be able to tell you. Around the year 2000, I lost track of that. Okay, well, I'll wrap this up now then, and I just wanted to say that. So I wanted to put that in there. Very good. Okay.